I've been making videos and talking about trauma for months now, and it's occurred to me that perhaps I should talk about what trauma is. In our culture, trauma is often trivialized, with people joking that something is traumatic or belittling the experiences that others find traumatic. Trauma is relative. What is a traumatic event to one person is not to another. So trauma is individual. Trauma occurs when a person's nervous system is completely overwhelmed and unable to cope with an event. Two components of trauma are experiences of helplessness and terror or life threat. Since we're all different, we can begin to see how some events are traumatic to some people, but not others. Researchers have found that one factor that makes the difference between people who develop PTSD after a potentially traumatic event and people who do not develop PTSD is relationships. People who get emotional support from friends, families, or other caring and supportive people, such as a therapist, tend not to develop PTSD. Dissociative identity disorder is a condition of complex trauma. If it develops early in childhood. Children have fewer ways of coping with events that could be overwhelming. For one thing, their brains are far from fully developed, and they have limited options for protecting themselves or from fleeing from dangerous situations. So what might not be experienced as trauma by an adult can be traumatic to a child. That is, children more easily experience things as terrifying and causing feelings of helplessness, so that they're overwhelmed and unable to cope with the event. DID is also a condition resulting from relational trauma. That is, traumas that are the result of the actions of people in the person's life. And remember that we know that having people who can help us process traumatic events can be the difference between developing PTSD or not. Well, when you're experiencing abuse or severe neglect from the people in your life, they clearly aren't going to be there to help you process it. The support, or lack of, makes a difference in our ability to make an overwhelming event one that can be processed so that it's no longer overwhelming.